Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another exciting episode of Musical People and Journeys, our new rock album reviews. Welcome to our panel, to William, to Trish, to Dom, and to Simon.
Morning.
So, what's the show all about? Well, it's a battle of the bands. We have to reviewing two albums, put them head to head. Which one would we buy? When we'll rate them out of 5, because hey, that's what we do for our listening pleasure, for our personal listening pleasures. Will they get into our Hall of Fame? Will they get into our Album of the Year? Who knows? Who knows? It's high competition. But please, before we start, if you enjoy what you hear, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and loads of interviews, etc. Anyway, let's crack on. Who have we got today? Well, we have the mighty Avenged Sevenfold and their new album, Life is But a Dream. And they are up against Extreme and their album, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6! There we go. Right, well, without further ado, let's find out a little bit about who we are talking about. So, Avenged Sevenfold and their album Life's a Dream. Who are Avenged Sevenfold? Well, abbreviated A7X. There we go, fair enough. Is an American heavy metal band from Huntington Beach, California, formed in 1999. Current lineup consists of vocalist M. Shadows, rhythm guitarist Zaki Vengeance, gotta love the names, guys, and lead guitarist Sinster Gates, bassist Johnny Christ, and drummer Brooks Wackerman. Brooks, you need to sort your name out, mate, to fit in with the rest of the band there, no doubt about it.
Tell they're from California, can't you?
Yes. Okay.
Names like that.
Avenged Sevenfold are known for their diverse rock sound, dramatic imagery in album covers and merchandise. The band emerged with a metalcore sound in their debut album, Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, and largely continued the sound through their second album, Waking the Fallen. However, the band's style has evolved by the group's third album and first major label release, City of Evil, into a more traditional heavy metal style. The band continued to explore new sounds with its self-titled release and enjoyed continued mainstream success before their founding drummer, Jimmy Rev Sullivan, died in 2009. R.I.P. my friend. Despite his death, Avenged Sevenfold continued on with the help of ex-Dream Theater member Mike Portney and toured and supported their fifth album, Nightmare in 10,010, which debuted in the top Billboard 200. Their first number 1 debut. To date, Avenged Sevenfold have released 7 studio albums, 1 live album, 2 compilation albums, 18 singles, and have sold over 8 million albums worldwide. There we go. So, Avenged Sevenfold and Trish, during this journey, Trish,
yeah,
have you?
Taken
Yeah, I bet
journey,
you weren't
that's for sure.
expecting to potentially listen to Avenged Sevenfold. Tell us, what did you think of this album?
Okay. So the album starts with a harp playing. Interesting. I wonder what's going to come next. And then wham, massive guitars and drums followed by fast talking, then in the middle slows down again with a flute and a harp, and then proper singing. I couldn't help smiling as this track had a concoction of everything. So with this being a complete surprise, I had no expectation of what the album was going to be like. And I don't think I can find the words to describe this album. It has everything thrown in it, from synth to classical to screamo. I can't say I hated it, and I can't say I loved it, as it did make me smile at times, and I didn't turn it off. Just bizarre in many aspects, but fun.
Dom.
Oh, I'm so pleased. I'm going to go on a limb. I love this album. I thought it was amazing. It's had, I know, a lot of controversy. Some of the reviews have been very mixed. I really enjoyed it. It's, you know me, I like my weird music. I like stuff that's avant-garde, bit progressive, that hits hard, and I think that was all in here. I just love that that you don't know what's going to come next. It's supposedly all based on kind of existential themes and the works of Albert Camus and absurdism and all of that kind of stuff, which I love. Just
Sorry, I'm going to stop you. Absurdism.
Absurdism, yeah, just being absurd, really. It's kind of artistic style of doing the absurd, of just to kind of wake you up and get you into it. I enjoyed it so much. I mean, the two tracks, Mattel, and Nobody, are, I think, awesome. Nobody, particularly, is such a strong track in the album. You're right; it goes into some weird places. It maybe you're wondering, scratching your head for a while, but I thought this was solid and clever and intelligent music. So I loved it.
Simon, had you partaken in your journey of rock music over the years in Avenged Sevenfold?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. And when listening to this album, I did go back and listen, like sort of skip through it, listen to their previous albums, just to remind myself, this is definitely the same band, right? Because what an eclectic mix of tracks. I've listened to this album over and over because I still don't know how I feel. There's some sections of like classic Avenged Sevenfold, but there's also pieces that seem to be influenced by things like Skinner and System of a Down and a heroic amount of hallucinogenics. The tracks just slam together these like metal riffs, techno beat, acoustic jams, just the crazy amount of vocal stylings, which is really impressive, and I am impressed, but so confused. And I do think that open brackets D, close brackets F. Sorry, but if you're going to spell things in a silly way, I'm going to pronounce them in the silly way. Looking at you, Key Dollar Ha. But what a wild ride that track is. Sloom piano keys slammed to heavy guitars with a moody vocal accompaniment, like. What is this album? What are these tracks? I'm just baffled and confused. But as Trish and Co said, like, I didn't hate it and I didn't turn it off. So I don't know how I feel.
We are confused, are we, guys? Let's see if somebody can cut through that confusion. William, Avenged Sevenfold. I believe you were a bit of a fan.
I'm so confused. I don't understand what happened. So, I've not known Avenged Sevenfold quite as long as most Avenged Sevenfold fans. I have, a video game franchise which helped me get into metal music. Thank for it. The Call of Duty franchise helped me get into this. Carry On, for some reason, end credit song of Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Weird animated version of Avenged Sevenfold, just playing the credits, and it's a song. And I thought that song was cool, so I started listening to them. And I don't know if I'm listening to the same band anymore. Like, it's just all the stuff Simon's already said. It's I don't know what they've done. This one a bit wild. I think they were a bit manic when they were writing, like, how much stuff can we put in this one album? Let's just go wild, guys. And they just kind of took way too much ecstasy and just made an album. I liked Nobody. That was a good song. But I felt that's because that was the most Avenged Sevenfold one in this Avenged Sevenfold album. Because it sounded like Avenged Sevenfold. I mean, it's still good. They're talented musicians. It may be really weird and confuse me, but everything is still performed well, sung well. It's still well performed. It's just weird, and I don't know what's going on in my head. I'm so confused listening to it. It's going on.
It's
save me, please.
Yeah, and guys, it's do you know when you are in trouble or you have a problem and you are somewhere and everybody else is in the same boat? Well, let me tell you, we are all in the same boat, okay? Because just listen. If you want to get a sync of this album, just listen to Game Over. Because Game Over, the opening track, has absolutely everything in what this album is about to give you. It literally does. And Mattel is my definitely favourite track. It goes, definitely out there. And actually, when I just read who was who in there, and seeing the name of the guy from Dream Theater that joined the band in there, that kind of might explain a few things in terms of the influence, in terms of where this one is there. And how best to describe this album? Well, have you seen the movie La La Land? Have you ever anybody watched La La Land?
Fantastic film.
Yeah. So if you can think like, and if you can go, well, this is how I described it: heavy rock combined with La La Land combined with Disney, okay? Because that really pretty much sums up, you know, the whole facets of this album, really. Because La La Land, in terms of good, more jazzy music, kind of takes you off into some weird places, but then brings you back with some really cool kind of music. And this what this does. It interjects some weird stuff. You know, it did lose me a little bit towards the end, because I was thinking to myself, the first 3 tracks in particular, Game Over, it had such a wonderful combination of that heavy kind of, you know, almost like that Skin Red and you know, and Link Part and that sort of stuff kind of beat, and then you know, you go in like pushing up the daisies and bang in your face, and I'm going, fucking love this. This is amazing. And then as the album went on, I thought it lost the edginess of that sort of, you know, hit you in the face kind of music. And I thought the first 2 songs, maybe 3 songs, had that perfect blend, and then it kind of lost it. It more went into that kind of Dream Theater and kind of lost. And I'm going like, bring back that. For once in my life, I could give me a little bit of screamo. Please, give me like 2 seconds of it. Just smash me in the face with it, just to mix it back up again, right? Because it was bizarre, but the first 3 or 4 tracks, it really worked. It was different, it was unique, it was quirky, it was brilliant. And then it's just kind of, as the album went on, it lost me, because it got more esoterical, and it got more Dream Theater, proggy rock, if you like. And that's a shame, because I think if they kept with that sort of that nuance, and I think you know, probably from an artistic point of view, they were trying Life Is But a Dream, and they would like almost transport you to some sort of weird dream fantasy world. And I kind of get where they were going with it, but in terms of musicality, it lost me in that journey. And I want to see Avenged Sevenfold now write a parody or a version of La La Land for this sort of music, because I think it'd be really quite cool. So yeah, confused, interesting. I think I needed to kind of really organise my thoughts into where I was with this album, because at one point I couldn't decide where I was going to give it a 5 or a 1, and it was just, and I think it might have ended up that way in terms of the top marks if it carried on the way that, you know, Game Over in particular and Martell and that sort of kind of nuance. If it had carried on through this album, I personally would have think that this is probably a new style of music that was just different from anything else I've heard since I've been doing this album review, and it would have nailed it, but it didn't. It lost me on this journey at the end of the day, I think. So, but anyway, right, okay. Why? And I've got to say, I'm glad that everybody. Sometimes you go like, "Well, is it just me here?" But I'm glad that we're all in that same boat together, really. In terms of being confused, but yep. You know, Guy, you've got to give credit. I mean, you've got to give them credit for trying something a little bit quirky and a little bit new, and it not quite being prog rock either. Well, I think it ended up that way, but yeah.
Hey, you said that, because I now have a M Shadow singing "City of Stars" in my head now, and it's this is an experience going on in my head right now.
I know, right?
An Avenged Sevenfold cover of "City of Stars."
I listened to this album and then left it alone, and then went back to it a couple of weeks later and listened to it again. And in fact, I you know, sometimes I go, I either want to listen to the album I love the most, you know, prior to a show if I'm going to big it up. But I had to listen to this one more time. I had to like just go through some of the tracks, just try to not confuse myself. But anyway, right, they are up against Rise and their album Extreme. Will they rise to the battle? Anyway, who are Extreme? Well, they're an American rock band formed in Boston, Massachusetts in 1985, guys. Been around, reached the height of their popularity in the late 80s and early 90s. They've released 6 studio albums, 2 EPs in Japan, 2 compilation albums. As information, the band was one of the most successful rock acts of the early 90s, selling over 10 million albums worldwide. Extreme achieved great success in their 1990 album Porno Graffiti, which peaked at number 10 on the Billboard 200 and was certified gold in 91 and double platinum in October 92. The album featured the acoustic ballad single More Than Words. which reached number 1 on the Billboard Top 100 in the United States. On February 17th, the band began to release different teasers for each day, and on February 28th, the match Extreme released their single Rise, and announced 6 would be released on June the 9th, bizarrely, and here we are, reviewing Rise. So, are you able to give me more than words here, Dom? And will those words be gracious or not? How did you find this album with Rise and Extreme?
Okay, where do I start? So this band proves that nominative determinism isn't always right. This is probably the least extreme album I've ever heard, or the least extreme body of music that I've ever heard in my life. It's like, oh my gosh, it was so vanilla that I struggled. It's like trying to keep down, you know, when the little bit of sick comes up in the back of your throat and you can't you got to get it back down again because you can't let it out. That was my experience of listening to this album, right? And here's one thing, right? Beautiful girls. Now these guys were in their heights in the mid 80s. These guys are in their 60s and they're singing a song about beautiful girls. Man, that's just that little bit of six coming up in the back of my throat again. So
Dom, wait till you get to your late 50s. You would not be saying that, okay? You was not.
I'm getting close. Don't get me wrong.
Well, give it a few more years, mate, and you'll be whacking on this album and going singing along to Beautiful Girls and trying to remember the halcyon days when you were younger and could feel something.
Nigel, I feel your pain, my friend.
Just saying, bro. Just saying. There's nothing wrong at getting to 60 and admiring beautiful girls, okay? You don't need to be a lech, but you just can admire the beautiful girls. There's nothing wrong with that.
Moving on swiftly.
All I gotta say, exactly. All I gotta say is either change your band name or I don't know, change what you do. But it was terrible, absolutely terrible.
Simon, do you like a bit of vanilla?
Usually, yes, but I mean, right? Look, this is 80s hard rock, whatever, through and through, classic butt rock, and for that, I agree. That makes extremely mid. Nothing technically wrong. Some cool solos sort of punctuate the surface occasionally, but I don't have much to say on the band. Like, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't great. Following Will's mentioning on a previous show about how album covers can enhance the experience, well, I'm not sure it does fit the style of the music. I do appreciate anything that reminds me that apes strong together, which are just great films. So bonus point for that. Oh, but minus half a point for styling every song title as all caps. Why was that necessary?
Oh, it's the thing these days. Do you know what I mean? Everybody seems to be doing it in caps these days. They want to shout out. They want to shout. And this is the new song. Right.
Look at the playlist of the all caps. Like, was it Machine Head or someone did that as well on one of their albums recently? It's like
loads of indie rock people have done it.
It's a minor gripe. I'm not taking points off for it. It just really annoys me. It's a minor thing. But yeah.
No, loads of people. I think Fall Out Boy did it on their album as well. But anyway, there we go. Okay. I wonder what's coming here. William, let's talk about a bit of Extreme, shall we?
Well, if I want extreme, I'll listen to Lorna Shore, because, I mean, that's extreme. This is not extreme. I mean, from the first song, Rise, and the last song, Here's to the Losers. If it's in all caps, you shout it, okay? And why is anyone shouting out the name of these songs? Because they're awful. Okay.
Hashtag rebel.
In my defense, right? This is a band that was, around in the 80s. It's that kind of music. I'm a younger man, and I'm a fan of younger man's music. Like, my favorite band right now is Electric Callboy, right? You compare that to this, and it's just such a different thing. It's not my kind of music. It's old school, rocky, 80s-y, slow, sometimes a bit heavier stuff. I just can't get behind it. The monkey was a bit intimidating as well. I felt like it took away from it. I was looking at it, it was like, if you don't like this album, that's why it's shouting, because you're shouting these things while you're running away from the ape and chasing it.
I thought the little bit of shit coming up was quote of the month, but you've just trumped it. You just trumped it with the monkey is a little bit intimidating. Oh, brilliant. Why can Extreme be saved by the 80s rock chick that is Trish? Trish.
Oh, well, I know you're laughing and you're going to be laughing at me. I know it. I can feel the vibes. Okay. I'm going to get crucified for this, I know. But I've been a fan of Extreme from back in the day. Yes, back in the 80s. I am that old. When they released Get the Funk Out. So what are we going to get with this album 6? For me, it was a great start to the album with Rise, using intense rhythmic guitars. This is definitely an anthem for when they play it at concerts. It will have the audience fist pumping in the air. Rebel and Banshee following its same ilk. Then the album changes gear with the country rock Other Side of the Rainbow, which I thought was a nice little twist in the album. This album is definitely a far cry from Extreme to Porn Graffiti days. Obviously, they are older now and have years of life experiences behind them, which is reflected in this, what I would call a mature album. After a 15-year hiatus, releasing an album they haven't churned out just anything for an album, I felt a lot of thought and feelings have gone into this, and you won't be disappointed if you're an old or new fan to Extreme.
Well, I'm with Trish. I quite enjoyed the album. I thought it was okay. I mean, it's quite interesting because, and I kind of see where you're coming from, because Rise and Rebel, the first two tracks, were a little bit more edgy. They had a really good, fast, bit more upbeat to it, and I enjoyed them. They got added to my cool song list. I enjoyed them. The album did meander then into more kind of melodic 80s kind of rock, and that kind of did lose me a little bit, and it became a little bit. I have kind of heard a lot of this kind of sort of music before, and I kind of going like, and it just annoyed me a little bit because Rise and Rebel was great, but it was an enjoyable album. I enjoyed it. I certainly didn't hate it, and I concur. If that sort of music is not your cup of tea, you're going to switch off from it. But I like melodic rock, and I like melodic soft rock, and the album did kind of meander into that, but it's a shame because I thought the first few opening tracks were excellent, and I thought, oh, this could be an album that I could, this is heading towards, one of my albums of the year if it carries on with this sort of a bit more punchy kind of rock music. But they then just kind of went on there, and I got a little bit bored towards the end of the album. But so I could pick out a few tracks which I really enjoyed. Would I go back to the album and listen to it again as a whole? Maybe, if it was on, that's fine. But I thought there was some really good, cool tracks in there as well, which I actually quite enjoyed. So, but yeah. Anyway, okay. Well, interested, and I mean, to be honest with you, I listened to one track which would have been Rise, and listened to a bit of Avenged Sevenfold, and I thought, this would be an interesting matchup. When I do matchups, I can maybe only one track has been released, and so I have a little bit of a snapshot into the world. Sometimes I get it spot on, and other times completely wrong.
Bit of a squash match.
This is a very unusual matchup, but let's see what we're going to be purchasing. So Trish, we're going to start with you then. Avenged Sevenfold. What are you going to give that?
3.
Dom.
I'm going to give it 5.
I don't even have to write it down. I've already written a line down there, to be perfectly frank with you. So,
got to get down early.
Yeah. Now, let's go to the very confused gentleman. Simon.
3.5. Sure.
William.
3. I think. Why not? Yeah. Why not?
I want to give it anywhere between a 3 and a 5. Do you know what I mean? I am so confused because there are some aspect that I absolutely love, and then some stuff I just don't want to listen to. So I can't give it a 5, but I think it deserves more than a 3. So, but it doesn't.
If only there was a number between them.
I know there is, but I still think I still think it's too high. So I'm gonna go with Simon. I'm gonna go 3.5. I'm gonna go 3.5 on it. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't think we've reviewed an album that has confused us so much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you kind of love and hate. I don't know.
Confused us in a way that, in a good way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, top to them. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, so let's start with Rise then. Dom, you Rise?
Extreme.
Yeah.
Big 0. That was just terrible.
A 0. A 0.
It's offensive.
Wow.
Good man.
A 0.
I'm giving it a 0.
You fucking need
It was
your
terrible.
You fucking need your ears waxing, mate. You do.
Barely use it.
You need your ears waxing, mate. You need therapy. Simon.
Give it a 2.
2. William.
Don't worry if I say the wrong thing, the monkey's going to get me. I don't know what
You
to
may
do.
give it a 5. That monkey's coming for you. Don't give it a 5.
0.5.
Oh, you.
Kaz giving it a 5.
Evil people.
You didn't specify what else there had to be when you said give it a 5, okay?
Yeah, you did give it a 5, but 0.5. Trish?
4.
4 for me as well. 4 for me as well. So, okay. 10.5. What? So let's start about Life's But a Dream first of all. 3.5, 6.5. 6.5. I can't count at a minute. 10, 13, 18. I kind of almost should have given it a 5 so it gets into our Hall of Fame. There we go. Anyway,
You have to listen to it again.
Yeah, no,
Review it again.
10.5 for Extreme. Harsh. Didn't think it was that bad an album, but there we go. But it's all down, as we say, to everybody's individual listening pleasure. And if that album did not give you pleasure, then I don't know what will. Anyway, right. So swiftly moving on, because it's the end of the show. Thank you very much. We are definitely. What are we buying? I would buy Rise. Trish would buy Rise, but you three would buy Avenged Sevenfold. So it's a no-brainer. Avenged Sevenfold. Congratulations, you win this battle. And you've cracked on bizarrely, you've scored a very, very good score, so of 18. So there we go. Okay, please, everybody, if you like what you heard, please like and subscribe our channel. Please share it on our Facebook page. Check us up at MPJ Musical People and Journeys on Facebook. Thank you to my wonderful crew, to William, to Trish, to Dom, and to Simon. Thank you very much. Keep on rocking out there, everybody, and keep safe. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.